Hello, welcome back and welcome back chat. So, in this video I think we will do and talk about something really interesting and amazing. You know, you're closing in on the 40 years of your companies, and if you do the math, that was before the internet, before YouTube, before online shops and everything that makes nowadays life in a way very convenient. How was it at the very first days? How did you start?
I mean, it was before eBay, it was before Amazon, it was before the internet, and
we barely had cars.
Right, it was actually when CDs first came out, which they had a 30-year lifespan.
Yeah, true.
And then my daughter, who's 18, didn't even know about CDs hardly. So how did it start? Well, I moved to Kansas from Louisiana in 1984. Started cooking as a cook. Started. My father called. He said, "Hey, I'm bringing your car from Louisiana. Is there anything you want me to bring while I'm coming to Louisiana?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Well, bring my record collection and my stereo."
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he brought, I had a Marantz and some Electro Voice speakers. He brought that and maybe 100 records.
Remember some of the titles?
Yeah, I mean, classic rock, Foghat, Zeppelin, Allman Brothers, all the good shit.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, let me guess.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, yeah. For sure. Sure, at least had a Skynyrd in there. So he brought me my stereo and my records, and of course those records were from my partying days, when you would drink and get high and party all night long. So they weren't in the best condition.
Of course not, yeah. Our records went, in that age, the records sometimes went through hell.
Oh, yeah.
Considering how we handle them nowadays, right?
Right, and that's why, CDs were a little bit of a welcome because, and that's why, I was blinded by science when CDs first came out. They're so clean and they're small and there's no ticks and pops. So,
and you could skip through titles.
Yes, and so what happened was, because most of our records were in poor shape, it helped the CD gain in popularity because we noticed that you didn't hear the ticks and pops, right? You could recognize that right away. And because our records were mostly in bad shape. Now, if you cleaned your records and they were in good shape, you didn't really have the ticks and pops.
One question, because we talk a lot about that here in Germany. At that time, did you think about quality, sound quality of a record and better and not so good sounding records? In Germany, we didn't.
I mean, back then, probably right at 1984, as a kid, when I was like 15, we bought a Marantz 2270 and an AR turntable, an Electro Voice, or we'd get really good Kenwood or Pioneer, things like that. And that ended up being mid-fi. Like, it's good stuff. I mean, at 15 years old.
That's decent.
Yeah.
That's decent to say the least.
At 15, I mean, like, I was born in the middle class. My parents were in the middle class, so, and then I was an only child, so I was a bit spoiled. I mean, it was probably a $1,500 stereo at 15.
That's not too bad.
Well,
right?
you could buy a nice car. In fact, cars were $4,000. You could buy a brand new car.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
In 1984. In 1970.
Okay.
1970.
Yeah, right. You were 15.
Well, in 1975, I was 15. No. 1977, I was 15. But around that time, you could get a car for $4,000.
Yeah, imagine that. And you had a 1,500 equipment for listening to
Probably
records.
at least $1,000 system.
Nice.
So it was mid-fi, but it was the best that I knew about. And at that time, they had better, but it wasn't that much better. And so I didn't you know, I wasn't a true audiophile at that time, and you know, I had a nice system, especially for my age. Now, it wasn't until about 1984 that I started learning about the next levels.
Okay.
Maybe about 1980, I started learning about there was something better.
Through friends or through shops or stores you
Yeah,
visited?
I mean, I went to Miami one time, and there was a friend of mine that I'd met, and his parents, they were well-to-do, and they lived on Government Cut in Miami, and he lived in where the maids would live. And so he had his own place, and he had a Lynn Sondek turntable, he had Altec Voice of the Theater speakers, he had a Tandberg reel-to-reel, he had Mark Levinson, I think.
Nice.
And I didn't really know what all this was.
And then you learned about it.
Well, he explained to me, he says, what do you think's the most expensive thing in the stereo? And I'm like, well, the speakers were huge, you know, Altec Voice of the Theater. I'm like, well, the speakers, he says, well, everybody says that. And he goes, well, what else is the most expensive, and what do you think's the most important? And so I'm like, the speakers. He goes, well, everybody says that. They are the biggest, and they are expensive, but they're not the most expensive, and they're not the most important. You know, and I went around, and the turntable was the last thing I said. And he said, no, the turntable is the most expensive, and it's the most important. And I'm like, wow, really? You know, and he goes, yeah, everybody says that. That's why I, you know,
go from the source.
Right. And so, now I remembered that, but I didn't go right into learning about it right then, you know. But I remember talking to him about his system and being intrigued, and then him explaining. And back then, Peter McGrath had a store in Miami. I don't know what the name of it was. Maybe it was Sound Components. I'm not sure, but he had a store. Now that guy is one of the top people at Wilson Speakers now. He's still living, he's still doing it. And I think he was one of the better stores and bigger dealers. I think we talked about his store. Now, later on, at 1984, I guess I was about 22 years old, that's when I moved to Kansas. That's when my father brought my stereo, and I started learning more and more about audio, higher end audio. And I also started, that's when I learned about Audiophile records. And that's the same year that CDs came out. Yeah. So a lot was happening.
When did the audiophile records start?
About 78.
78.
Yeah, and then 79 they got stronger. In 1980, so yeah, all of this is kind of happening. So around 1979-80, there was a bunch of direct-to-disc, Sheffield Labs, the original MoFi, not the same MoFi. It was a
the MoFi later was sold to
Music Direct, a guy named Jim Davis, Music Direct. This is way later, and they had different standards.
Didn't they start with a train, the noises?
Okay, so you think about the name of the company.
MoFi.
No, say the whole name.
Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab.
Right. So what does mobile mean?
Right,
yeah.
Mobile, yeah.
Mobile fidelity.
Okay.
Moving fidelity.
Okay.
Or they would take their recording equipment and be mobile.
Okay.
So they would go and record things that weren't in the studio.
Okay.
Like trains.
Cars?
Thunderstorms, and maybe cars, just a lot of odd things.
Because a friend of mine has a record about the sounds. No, Citroën, a car, French car.
Oh, really?
When you close the door, when you turn on the light, all on the record.
But is it Mobile Fidelity?
No.
Well, no, but Mobile Fidelity did thunderstorms, trains, different sounds, rain.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then they started doing this Mystic Moods Orchestra. And it was like a string orchestra. And then and then they did one called Power of the Majesty. Those were the first 4. Then the first thing they did was Supertramp, Crime of the Century.
Okay. The first Crime of the Century was the very first.
Yes.
Interesting. Cool.
And then John Clemmer Touch, because the owner, the owners of Mobile Fidelity went to Herb Belkin, who ended up being the owner of Mobile Fidelity, but he was an entertainment lawyer that worked for ABC Records. So the owners, Brad Miller, went to him to license Supertramp. If you notice, the beginning of Mobile Fidelity, they did ABC Records from ABC. Supertramp, no, that was A&M. A&M, they did records from ABC, like Steely Dan, Katie Lied, John Clemmer Touch, and then that's how they started. Well, they put it on the highest quality vinyl at the time called Super Vinyl that was pressed in Japan. So they set standards. They cut their records at half speed. They thought that was one of the best ways to cut records. It's not the only way, and some people disagree, right, that it's not the best. Yeah. Some people still think it's the best. It's just a different way. Yeah. But they did half speed, that was their standard, and they used JVC pressing plant in Japan, which is very high quality, and they used Super Vinyl. So then it went around.
So they went to Japan, press the records, get them from Japan back to the,
And so they started in 77. In 78, they got bigger. In 79, they're really kicking. In 80, they're really kicking. But by 84, they're scaling back as CDs is coming out.
How many titles when around 84? What do you think? Roughly?
About 200.
200?
No, around 84, less than 200. But and I'm also learning about them and collecting them, and I'm learning about the higher end audio. You know, and it goes together. You know, most important thing.
While you were working as a cook, so it was a hobby.
Right. And I went back home to Louisiana, and my friend, who was really into high end, his name was Chet Nixon. He knew about all the high end audio, like the top of the top. And then he showed me, he pulled out a Mobile Fidelity record, and he goes, wow, look at these. And I said, man, I got a few of those. I had a few of those. I had a Jerry Rafferty, because when I went to buy Jerry Rafferty, they let records go in and out of print or in and out of stock back then. And sometimes you couldn't find a record. And I wanted the Jerry Rafferty City to City. They said, well, it's not currently in production. Oh, well, there's this company that put it out, Mobile Fidelity. I says, it's more expensive. I said, well, listen, I really want it, so I bought it. And that happened on the Doobie Brothers Captain and Me, which was on Nautilus. So I knew about this company. I also had a Jean-Luc Ponty on Superdisc. It was another company. So I had 3 different audiophile releases on Audiophile Company, but I never really, they had hype stickers that said, the difference you will hear, listen to the difference. And so I was expecting the band to jump out of the speakers and slap me about the face. And so since the hype stickers was so hype that I was expecting to be a big difference. He said, no, Chad, he says, you don't understand. He says, it's a subtle difference. Now listen, sit right in the middle of the speaker and listen, and here's the things to key in on and listen to. Now they're not gonna be huge, but listen. And so I started talking, and he's like, Chad, if you keep talking, you'll never hear. Sit in the middle. And why you want me to sit in the middle? He goes, just trust me, sit in the middle. You're not gonna hear it unless you quit talking and you sit in the middle. And so listen to these little things. And I listened, and I made my expectations, I set my expectations lower. And I heard it. And he said, you see this record, this Deja Vu? This one's worth $100. You see this Zeppelin 2?
At the time.
Yeah, at the time. And And I said, wow. So he showed me. Well, when I got back to Salina from Louisiana, I went to our record store.
Mm-hmm.
This record store happened to have about 150 of them.
Okay.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
And the out-of-print ones, they had all the UHQRs.
Still sitting there.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
These things had been out of print for years. Now, they might not have had Dark Side, but they had Sgt. Pepper. These things were going for $200 in the 80s. So I called my friend. I said, man, every one of them is here.
Yeah.
He said, buy them all. I says, well, I can't afford them all. He says,
okay, well, how big was the price difference in the shop in Salinas?
they were about $18.
That's quite a difference, yeah. Yeah.
Right, that was the going rate for them. The guy didn't mark the prices up.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we don't know that, how it was. That is valid information. So the market value was 200, and in that store it was 18. This is amazing.
Well, he never marked them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're in a small town in the middle of Kansas.
Yeah.
He still hadn't sold them.
Yeah.
These were, and that's why I would go from record store to record store looking for these things.
Yeah.
And you would find them, not a lot, but you would find them. But this was a mother load. This was a mother load. And so I called him, and he would buy them all. He would just buy them all, and I would let him buy them all because he showed me, and I was sharing with him. Yeah. And of course, I didn't have the money, but that's how I started.
Amazing.
This is 1984.
So
the same year the CD's coming out.
And then you built up a cash stock in a way, and when you saw them, you bought them and offered them to people.
Right, so every time I started collecting them, buying what I could.
Yeah.
And every time I went to a city like Kansas City or St. Louis or Miami or New Orleans or Houston, Chicago, I would go to all the record stores and look. That was back when they still had record stores. And they were mostly all records. And the CDs, they might have 30, 40,000 records in a store, but they'd just have a box of CDs. Now, a year and a half later, it went from having all records to having all CDs in a box of records. From having a box of CDs and all records to having a box of records and all CDs. Now, you know how that happened?
Tell me.
It didn't happen because of the superiority of the CD.
No, that's for sure.
That's what everybody thought. It happened because the music companies told the record stores, if you buy the vinyl, it's on a one-way sale. The vinyl costs $1 more than it used to, and when you buy it, you're stuck with it. Whether it's defective or you're overstocked, you're stuck with it. Like in the old days before that, if you had a defect, you could get a return and replacement. And you could also, if you were overstocked, you could return it. So you could return it for overstock or defect.
Okay.
Now still, they work since 1984. They started a new policy: no defects, no replacement for defects, or no return for overstock.
Okay, wow.
Products, LPs are sold on a one-way basis.
So to push the CD?
CD you can return for overstock, and CD you can return for defective.
Aha, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
And then they lowered the price by $1 of the CD. You can return for defect or overstock. LP, they higher the price, and you can't return for any reason. It's one way. And ever since 1984, LPs are still on a one-way basis. Still.
Never changed, right?
So when a customer wants to return a record and they get mad at us, they don't know that the company that we buy them from won't,
take it
we
back.
can't return it. Like we make $5 maybe when they buy a record, depending on which record. If they return it and we replace it, we lose about $30.
Imagine that, how many you have to sell to make that up.
Right. So we have to pay for the shipping to replace it. We have to replace it on our dime.
And ship it again.
And ship it again.
Yeah.
See, they don't really understand. They
but that's decades later. Let's stick to the.
No, I know, but they don't want to. The consumer doesn't understand.
That's true.
What's really going on? And they get mad at us. They expect it, and they get it, but they don't really know why.
It's a problem, yeah.
Right, and then they make comments, like they just don't really understand.
Yeah, but the source of this is in 1984 to implement CD above vinyl.
Right. Well, so people wonder how it only took a year or a year and a half from LP to almost go extinct.
That was so fast.
So fast.
So fast.
So fast.
Crazy, yeah.
And I just told you the reason why.
Interesting, very interesting. Amazing point.
If you had a store, let's say most people that own a store, a mom and pop store, they're 50 or 60 years old. And they come out with a new band like Motley Crue or Too Fat to Duck, if it's a rap band or something. They're not going to buy many. No. Now they know the Beatles, they know Led Zeppelin, they know Steely Dan, they know The Who.
Yeah.
They come out with new bands like Beastie Boys or Cool J, Cool Mo D, all with these funny names. They're funny names. It's a new music rap. They're not going to buy it. But what they did is the salesman would say, listen, man, this Cool Mo D is going to sell a lot. This Beastie Boys is going to sell a lot. This Motley Crue is going to sell a lot. This Guns N' Roses is going to sell a lot. Well, we hadn't heard of it. No. Send me one of each. They go, no. You need 30 of each. It's going to sell. And if it doesn't sell, we'll take it back.
No risk.
And so they said, fine.
Do it. Yeah.
But on record, they said, no returns. So they said, take 30 CDs.
Of course.
And so that's what happened. People don't remember that. People don't know that.
True.
But that's exactly what happened. And the labels, they're not really going to, but even them, a lot of the people in the music business weren't even working then. That's what happened.
So, and you were in the middle of it, still searching for audiophile records?
To me, like when the CDs came out, I was blinded by science. I loved, I was going, wow, they're quiet. Listen how quiet. It took me a while to really start realizing that, wow, the record has more of a warm sound, a richer sound, a friendlier sound to your ears. It draws you into the music while the CD is pushing you out of the room. The CD is a bit bright, it's a bit sterile, it's a bit clinical, it's a bit cold. It's not has the emotion. The record has emotion, and it pulls you in, and the CD pushes you out subconsciously. It took me a while to really wrap my head around that.
When I remember correctly, and in that case I'm quite sure I do, what turned us off at the time from the CD was that it's so small. We missed the cover. Didn't you at the time? We discussed that a lot. We missed it a lot.
No, a lot of people, the artwork, the holding.
Yeah, exactly.
That was part of it, for sure. There's a lot of little reasons, and all those little reasons add up to one big reason. But at the time, even though I was fooled for a while, I say we were blinded by science. They pulled the wool over our eyes, over our ears. They had benefits to the CD, like convenience and size and the surface note. It took me a while, but I started learning about these audiophile records, and I started collecting them. And I just dove. I was running against, the whole world was going the other way, and I was going against the grain, and I stayed. And people thought I was crazy.
Okay. Also, your friend.
I mean, I might have been crazy, but
in a different way. If so. But your friend and you stood to this vinyl thing, and you got more and more, and you learned probably more and more about it.
Yeah,
right?
well, you'd start to. You didn't have the internet. You definitely did. Yeah. So the things we were doing before Discogs, like people say, Chad, you don't know how to price records. I've been criticized. I says, man, listen, I've been doing this way before Discogs. I mean, way before Discogs. And I know that I sold this particular record 50 times, and every time they go, well, you're asking more than Discogs. I says, I don't care. Exactly. There's many records that never even, the biggest collectors don't buy on Discogs.
That's true. They all make their experience. And some decides that way and some decides the other way. And what's always, what you should never forget as a customer who buys used records is condition.
Mm-hmm. So, but I've been selling this same record 50 times for this price.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it worth?
Yeah,
it's worth at least this price.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you don't buy it, I don't care. I'll keep it because I want it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I make up a price that's higher, that is a bit high, because this person is wanting to buy my favorite record, and I just soon keep it. So, you know, I started collecting records in the buy, sell, and trade, and I put a little bitty ad in the back of Audio Magazine in like 1986.
Okay.
And then I became, you know, I got my tax ID number, and I became legitimate. Acoustic Sounds is the name of my company.
At that point?
In 1986.
Okay, Acoustic Sounds was the first thing you did as a company.
Right.
Okay, so before analog production, before QRP, of course, Acoustic Sounds.
Right. So I started in 84 collecting. By 86, I had a legitimate name, put a little bitty ad in the back of Audio Magazine. It cost like $100 for a little bitty ad. So you put your name, you put what you sell, you put your phone number.
Yeah.
So you had to wait for somebody to either mail you, hey, please send me your catalog, or they'd call you, please send me your catalog. So I didn't have that many records, but I would type on a typewriter, and then I would make Xerox copies on a copy machine.
Yeah.
Then I would staple it.
Yeah.
And then they would call, hey, send me your catalog. I would mail the catalog. It took a week to get. Then they would either fill out the order form and mail it back with a check, or they'd call you. So it might take a month before somebody got their order.
Of course. And remember roughly how many titles on that very first list of Acoustic Sounds?
Well, I could show you the first list, but one thing that was key in Acoustic Sounds growing, like I said, I would go to used record stores, and I would go to record stores, and Kmart, and if you went to a mall, they had a music land, and they'd always have, most of the time, like a small selection of audiophile records. So I would run into the store, where's your audiophile? And I'd look, see what I wanted, and then I'd go to store, and then they had cutouts back then, where if you see a punch in a record or a saw mark, that's either the record was overstocked and they blew it out. That's so they could see that. So remember I told you you could return a record for a full refund.
Yeah.
But if they blew these cutouts out, they sold them to you for $1. If you were dishonest, say they didn't mark the product.
Exactly.
And you were dishonest, you could take that record and return it for full credit. So they would mark it. They would either punch a hole or cut it. Or else those were promos. They were free. So that's why promos have a cut or a mark.
So that you cannot exchange.
You cannot exchange. So you would go to stores and they'd have a cutout bin. So the Kmart had a huge cutout bin, and I went and I found a mobile Fidelity of Rod Stewart. Blondes Have More Fun. And it had mobile Fidelity, so it was only $2. So I went up to the guy at the Kmart and said, man, where did you get this record? See the one that says Original Master Recordings? He says, no, man, I don't know where it come from. I said, man, I need to know. He said, well, I don't know. So I kept asking him questions. I don't take no for an answer. So I kept asking. So I go, and he says, hey, you know what? Look, kid, you know, I'm 22 years old. He goes, at 12 o'clock noon on every Tuesday, the guy that fills this up, it's called a rack jobber. It's like they sell on commission or something, and they mark what was sold, or 50 records was sold, they replace it with 50 records, and then they pay. So I go at the Tuesday at noon or whatever day, and I wait for the guy. So the guy comes in. I said, hey man, you see this record? I brought the record with me. I said, you see this? He says, yeah. I said, you see the top, this banner? do you have more of these? He says, I'm not sure. He says, I think I see some of those from time to time. I said, I want all of these I can buy.
Yeah.
He says, well, you know, they give me what to bring, I'll bring it, whatever's there is there. And I just kept wanting more information, wanting more. Finally, he says, listen, man, I'm going to give you the phone number of the company that I will work for. So he gives me the number, man. I run home, like, I call, and I talk to a lady, it's a secretary, and she really doesn't know much. And I keep talking to her. Hey, I'm looking for these mobile Fidelity. She says, well, yeah, we sell records, but we sell all kinds of records. I said, but there's a certain kind I'm looking for, and I keep talking, and she's, well, son, I don't really know. And I says, man, I'm really, somehow you got these, I really want to know how. And finally, I could hear a man say, who's that? What do they want? And he's, hello! Kind of mad. I says, yeah, my name is this, and I'm looking for these. He goes, oh, yeah, we have plenty of those. So we have over 100 different ones. I'm like, nice. What? He goes, let me send you the list. Yeah. So, man, I'm waiting for the mailbox every day. Yeah. So I get the list. They have 100 different, they have Hotel California, they have Queen Night at the Opera. These are going for like $200 or $300 a piece.
Nice.
They have them all.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know, 50 cents, $1, $2.
That was a treasure list for you, right?
There's 100 different MoFis.
Wow. With cutouts. And he...
Some were cut out, and then some they were rewrapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a real thin wrap. So I bought everything I could afford. Yeah. So some of them were $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. Some of them were only 50 cents. So I bought everything I could, and then I took the guy's list, and then I put any 10 for $100, tax and shipping. Back then, you know, if you sold out of Kansas, you didn't have to charge tax.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's the way it was. And so pick any 10 for $100, shipping included.
So you could choose 10 records?
10 records.
And send you $100 and you ship the records. Wow.
They would have 10 records, $10 a piece, no tax, no shipping, landed on the doorstep. And these were hard to find. And they were already, some of them were already collector's items. So I still have the catalog. But that was one of my marketing, you know, like, I know it doesn't sound like a genius marketing move, but
at the time, for sure. And that let's call it action, so that idea with the 10 you can choose out of those 100. Was that a big step forward in a way? Was that a very successful thing to do?
Yeah, it was a big step.
Cool. And when you did that, what was the next step that has been possible due to that step?
Well, everything from then till now, there's been just natural next steps. Yeah. Natural next steps. So just getting more and more titles and finding more and more records and finding more and more companies that sold those cutouts.
And more customers, I can imagine. Yes.
So I was in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. It was $175 a month. Let's see, wait. It was, I think it was about $175 a month rent.
Nice. And
bills paid. And I had a roommate.
And from there you did all of that.
Yes.
Wow, out of that room.
Yes.
Crazy.
We'd take the order, stay up all night long, take the order, talk to people all over the world all night long.
All over the world?
In my underwear.
At that point, you had customers all over the audio.
Well, I mean, at that point, I didn't have a ton of customers overseas, but we would ship all over the world.
Wow, cool.
And then when that apartment, you couldn't move. We had records in the bathroom. Yeah. You know, we used boxes of record as, as a bed end table.
With 23, 24, you were able to do that, right?
Yeah, and then So that was from 86 to 88. And then 88, I bought a ranch-style house. And then around 88, 89, I had about 11 employees working in the house in the basement.
Okay, that's fast.
Yes.
That's fast.
We were grossing $100,000 a month out of a basement.
Wow, that's fast.
Then one of the big things I did was bought a a fax.
Yeah.
Nobody had a fax then.
Yeah.
There was called a thermal fax.
I remember those.
those?
Yeah. If you put it in the sun, everything was gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those were like $2,000.
Yeah.
So I had 11 employees. We were working out of a basement. A fax was a big thing. The next thing was get an 800 number. It wasn't that easy to get an 800 number. And back then, a phone call cost a lot of money. And you had to pay. It was like a collect call every time somebody called you. And an 800 was expensive. And then we got Visa. People think, oh, that's easy. It wasn't that easy
at that
back
time.
then.
Yeah.
You almost had to prove that you were a big legitimate business, and it let a bank let you take Visa. And so these were big steps.
I can imagine, yeah.
So again, I think Amazon, eBay, I think maybe they started in '94 or something. I mean, we were doing all this before Amazon, eBay, way before Discogs, way before.
Discogs is far away.
No, I know, but I mean, these are all major things that happened way after, you know. So when people ask me, you know, or criticize my pricing, you know, and hey, if I price something too high, people won't buy it. I'll figure it out sooner or later.
Exactly. So at that point, with the 11 employees, you were still the only one who bought records, or did you have co-workers or employees who also went out and looked for those audiophones?
No, the employees worked on the computer and boxed the records.
Shipping, okay. But you were the guy who went out and, okay, this I buy, or did you have had a network in a way of
most of the time, and still, I call the company, I want to buy this, or somebody calls me, I want to sell a collection.
Okay.
I mean, of course, anytime I went to a big city, I'd go to record stores, but I didn't like travel, you know, most of the time, it's still, people send me, you know, lots of records, you know, that's where we get.
At that point, with the 11 employees, the house, the fax, the 800 number, visas getting in, how far are you away from doing your first record?
I'll tell you, but we were in a neighborhood, in a suburb, and they started calling the city on us because 18-wheelers were delivering pallets in a neighborhood.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So our neighbors were calling. So the city said, you gotta move now. And so that was in '91. So you remember I said I got legitimate in '86, got a house in '88.
5 years later.
In '91, I had to move out of the house. But in 1989 and between around 90 and 91 is when I did my first reissue.
Okay.
Around the same time as I had to move out. So within 5 years of starting a legitimate business, we were already reissuing records.
Wow.
Or one record.
That record was?
Virgil Thompson, The Plow That Broke the Plane from Vanguard Records.
Okay. Was it a difficult thing to do for you? You just jumped
I mean,
into
you know, it's something that I never did before. I went to buy a record collection in New York City, and the guy was a little bit difficult. He wanted more money than they were worth, and so I passed on the collection, but I brought like about $12,000 cash with me to New York. Back the 12,000, now it'd be like 50,000 now. This was 1990, 91. So I'm like, well, I didn't buy the collection, so let me go to a record company and talk to them about licensing. So I went to Vanguard Records. I talked to the famous Seymour Salomon.
Yeah.
His brother was Maynard Solomon, and his brother did all the blues, like Skip James and Mississippi John Hurt, and did all the folk, like the Weavers and Joan Baez. And then his brother, Seymour, the one I talked to, did the classical. So I sit across the desk from him and I said, hey, I'd like to license this classical title. And he goes, oh, you would you? I said, yeah, I would. Where you from, boy? You know, well, I'm from here and I do this. So I took that 12,000 and I laid it on the table like that, and there you heard thump. And even though this guy had been in the music business, a wealthy guy, he moved back away from the table like I'd put a gun on it.
You didn't expect that?
No. I said, well, I'm serious. Here's my prepayment, my advance. Listen, boom. And he's like, his eyes got big and he moved back a bit. And he's like, no, you don't have to pay like that. We'll worry about that later. He goes, well, let me bring you in the other room. Let me show you my engineer. And the guy was David Baker, famous, one of the top jazz engineers. And he was listening to some master tape and he was mastering. And then I said, well, the title I want to do is this, the Virgil Thompson Plow That Broke the Plane. Yeah. He said, oh, that's on the original 3-track tape. Let me get it. So he went in the room next door. He got the 3-track, which hardly anybody can play a 3-track. He cleaned the head. He put the 3-track. He says, you want to hear what it sounds like? And I mean, I was just like, and he had Rogers speakers. Yeah. Those come from England, the BBC. And I was like, wow. And that started that. Wow. And it worked out fine. I used Doug Sax. I said, I'm going to have to use Doug Sax to master. Because all of the records that I bought that Doug Sax had mastered, I liked, you know, like Pink Floyd, The Wall. And you just called Doug Sax, by the way, I need a reissue from that record, can you please master? And say, yeah, of course, Jack. Right. Cool. Where you want to play it. Cool. Where you want to play that, Greg Lee. Yeah. Where you want to press it, RTI, Record Technology. Also Stoughton jacket at the time? I think so, yeah. Imagine that. And 40 years later, or 35 in that case, you're still there with all of them. Except 40, almost 40, yeah. Oh, that's crazy. From the time that, 40 for the time Acoustic Sounds, but 35 maybe from the time my analog. Shit, Analog Productions is going to be coming on. Is that now, exactly, that's what's the question. What? With that first reissue, also Analog Production came to be, or was that a little bit later? Or otherwise, that you put out that reissue, was it a plan? Okay, I start with that and now I do that regularly? Give me an idea. Yeah? Give me a real, you want to guess what idea you just gave me? No, tell me. Of course. Okay, you don't have any, you don't, okay. Okay, so the Acoustic Sounds is coming up on the 40th anniversary, which we have some big news soon. We got some stuff, some fun, real. But when you said 35 years, I realized Analog Productions is going to have an anniversary too soon. Exactly. 35. Exactly. Maybe I should go back and reissue that first album. Yeah, that'll be quite something. Yeah. Of course. If you get it. But why not, huh? Try it. Why not? That's cool. It did. We sold 5,000 then. Really? Yeah. Wow. You redid it, or what? You did it once and then? No, I sold 5,000 when we first did it. Okay, and then, wow. Yeah. Wow. So was that the birth of Analog Production? Or did? Okay, cool. I actually did company number 2. Actually, I did something a little different. I mean, is before I did the Virgil Thompson, which is a flat-out original in Analog Productions, there was a record called Massenet Le Cid. That was an EMI Studio 2. And there was a company called Clavier, which had reissued that album with a different jacket. And that album will just blow you away. And so I went to the guy, I said, hey, I want to reissue this. He says, well, it's not mine to reissue. EMI owns it. I can't reissue something I don't own.
Yeah.
But he said, what I can do is I can do it as a third-party manufacturer. I can manufacture it for you the way you want it manufactured.
Yeah.
I said, well, I want Doug Sachs, and I want RTI, and I want Stoughton. He says, well, that's no problem. How many? You have to buy 2,000 and I'll have it done.
Okay.
So I did, Massenet Le Cid was actually kind of the first record we ever released, but it wasn't on Analog Productions. We used it on his label.
Ah, okay.
So then everything after that was the next natural step. Then I became friends with Don McInnes that owns RTI. And we bought Wilson Audio, which makes the speakers, their mastering facility. We put that inside of RTI. We used Stan Ricker at first, and then Kevin Gray to master inside of RTI. We called it Acoustic.
You're working with Kevin Gray for so long?
Yeah, 14 years Kevin worked for Acoustic.
Ah, okay, wow.
So the way we came up with the name,
Yeah.
Acoustic Sounds and Record Technology. So tech and acoustics.
Yeah.
So acoustic.
Yeah.
And we were partners, me and Don McInnes from RTI. So we were able to cut records and have a cutting facility inside a pressing plant. We did that for 14 years. So that was in 1994. In 1997, I bought a church that we made a studio. So Acoustic Sounds sells records, Analog Productions, Acoustic Sounds 1986, Analog Productions 1991, Acoustic 1994, Master Your Own Records. 1997, we started doing our own recordings.
In the church?
No. In 1994, we did, I think I might have it somewhat, we bought Acoustic. 1994, I did my first blues recording, Jimmy Rogers' Bluebird, with Johnny Johnson, Chuck Berry's piano player, and it won the W.C. Handy for the best blues album that year. Then, traditional blues album. And then 1997, I bought the church, which is a recording facility, started recording there. I might be forgetting a few things. In 2010 is when we started our own pressing plant.
QRP is the youngest
Yes.
company in your collection in a way.
Well, then I bought the mastering lab in 2015.
Ah, that was that late. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we do everything. We can do everything from the singing, the microphone, to the recording, to the mastering, to the plating, to the pressing, to the design, graphic design, the labels we print, because we bought in about 3 years ago, we bought a 100-year-old printing company. So we can do everything. The only thing we don't do is the album jacket.
Jackets, right. Yeah.
But we can print the insert, we can print the label.
When did Acoustic Sounds went online?
I think 97.
97. But it was in both worlds at that time, right? So you still had your mailing list, not mailing, excuse me.
Yeah, I was sending catalogs. I would print catalogs, and
I remember that from my father, Chad. Those catalogs, they have been a pain, haven't they?
They what?
Been a pain.
A pain,
Those catalogs, it's so
they were a
much
pain,
work.
but that's all we had. That's the only way. And we quit making them, and now we just do inserts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When did you stop making those catalogs?
I can't remember exactly, but probably before 2010.
That long, okay.
Yeah, we like to have both.
Okay, interesting.
People like to,
interesting.
You know, people usually don't take the catalog to the toilet with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we like making both because we're old school analog. Yeah. But at some point, man, it just didn't make any sense anymore.
From that very first record, how far was it to this huge fantasy series you did with almost 100 titles, right?
Yeah, that was 2002.
Okay, so
we started. It took us maybe 5 years to do the 100, so it might have started in 2002.
So what happens between starting the fantasy and that single title you just told us about, you put out as a reissue? You did 2 records per year, or how?
Okay,
how
so
was
in 1991, I did 3 Vanguards.
Yeah.
And then the 4th record we did was Copeland Rodeo. And then the 5th one was the Weavers at Carnegie Hall, which was done by Vanguard, but 2 different companies owned Vanguard at that time. The folk was owned by Welk. You heard of Lawrence Welk?
Maybe
Lawrence
I did,
Welk,
but
it was a big TV in America, big TV show in America. The Welk group owned the Weavers, so then I licensed that as my 5th one. My 7th one was a Ravel, which was a really great title, and then we also, the first jazz title was Sonny Rollins' Way Out West.
It was?
By Doug Sachs, master. The next one was Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie.
Okay.
And the next one was Art Pepper Meets the Rhythm. Now I
33
did those.
And the third
33, yeah,
okay.
30. That was done in 92. In 92. So I called, there was the company called Fantasy, and I licensed those. So then later, in 10 years later, is when I called the same company to do the Fantasy 100. But I started out with the Fantasy 25. Right now, we've done over 1,000 titles.
Imagine that.
Over 1,000 reissues.
Wow. So, but it's almost like a leveling up process. You know what I mean? Also with the big companies, you show them with one title in a way. Hey, that guy can do it. And then you get a second one, and then you ask him, come on, let me do 10. Ah, okay, let him do 10. The others have been good, right? It sounds a bit for me like that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pay your dues, man. You got to pay your dues, and you know, you start from nothing, and you know, you're the young guy, and you go to these big companies, and you know, ask them. You know, you offer them 20 grand, it's nothing to them. Now you offer $1 million and it's barely enough for them to even pay attention. But, you know, these days, I mean, for anybody to start a store, like right now, somebody can start a store that quick. They get online, they get that square where they can take the credit card on their phone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like,
exactly.
They don't even have to make a catalog. They can buy a web store in a box.
Yes.
They can get on YouTube and say, hey man, look at all these records I get.
Here I am.
No, and well, you know, thank God. I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm happy for everybody, and I'm happy for myself because we are able to communicate in real time with people and give you all the latest information. It's the greatest thing. But sometimes I look at some of the people that just started, and they just started, and they're doing really well, and it's good, but I think back at how many years.
If you compare that, right, to
oh my God, you know, to make a catalog and to mail it and to get an 800 number, how, you know, you just didn't call up the telephone company, hey, give me an 800 number, or give me, call the bank, give me Visa.
Yeah, but luckily you didn't know at the time, because if you would have known, You might have said, oh, you know what, I'm waiting 20 years and then I start. It's so much easier. So,
yeah, you know,
right?
no, it's, I'm learning. I mean, just in the last few years, there's things. Look at AI. Like, you can get a blurb, a description. You know, we would have to, like, either make up the description of the art pepper. You know, what kind of music, who's playing. You know, the information about it. Now, anyway, listen. It is what it is.
Exactly.
It's great. The technology is great. YouTube is one of the big things. That's the other thing. We were way before YouTube.
Exactly. But nowadays there are other difficulties. I think everything goes a little faster, and I think nowadays it's very important, also in your case, and I think you did, to adapt. I think you have to adapt faster than at the 80s, right?
Oh, I'm adapting. There's things right now that I'm realizing. The thing in the old days is I knew all of my customers. I would talk to them on the phone. I knew what their children's name was. I'd go to any city in the world almost and visit a good customer, and I knew what kind of records they already had, what kind of records they looked for, what kind of stereo they had, what they were looking for, and I really catered to them and helped. I've built some serious collections over the years. For serious collectors, I have built some and helped build, recommend, and when I get the records that my best customers want, I'd call them. And also, but I learned, here's the key, I learned everything I know from my customers.
I get it, yeah.
Because my customers were big businessmen in New York. They would explain, you know, you ought to do this with your business, you ought to do that. This is what I'm looking for. There's a lot of people looking for the RCA Living Stereo, the classical. Here's the rare ones. I learned everything you know, from my customer, and I'm still learning. But what's different is a lot of the big dog customers don't know that I actually still do that. I will actually, if I get to know them and they're really, really, really serious and they really, really want something,
they can get in touch with you.
Right, and that I will work with them in finding them. My ear is low to the ground. It's always been lower to the ground than almost any of my customers or anybody, and it's still low to the ground. But now I have 120 people that help me.
Yeah.
So I need to use their help, and I need my customer to go to them as much as they can to let them help.
Of course.
But if they're really, really serious about something, they can get to me, and I will help them.
Yeah.
And the YouTube thing is great because I can communicate with a lot at one time instead of one at a time.
That's so wonderful, right? And give all the information out in a very efficient way.
Yeah.
And adapting, I think also, for me, as people who also watch it is from the outside, the Atlantic 75 series was an adaptation process in the titles. It opened up the genres analog production is connected to, in my personal opinion.
Right, like I'm stuck in the 70s, man. I like blues, you know.
The jazz, right?
I like, well, classical and jazz is timeless. You know what I mean? It's timeless. Like that's why they call it classical. You know, classical and jazz for the most part is timeless. Blues is timeless. You know what I mean? There's some blues that you can kind of date, and there's some jazz that, you know, it changed into smooth or, you know, but most of those three is timeless. And that's what I like the most. And so, like 80s music, 90s music, 2000, like I'm stuck in the 70s and before. I'm gonna admit it, everybody knows it, I get criticized all the time.
No, but you opened up to it. I mean, there is 80s and 90s stuff.
I'm trying my best to learn about it, to try to like some of it. I like Nirvana. You know, I like some of the...
Chet, be careful. When you say Nirvana, all the speculation goes up. You like Nirvana.
I mean, I've learned to like some of the later music. To me, Nirvana is a new band.
Yeah, okay, get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, starting to like a little bit of the Alice in Chains, a little Soundgarden, I'm not really crazy, but you know, that's new music to me. And so people criticize me all the time, but you know, this is my label. I'm gonna do what I like. Because this is what I know, this is what I like, this is what I'm gonna do. It's a free world. If anybody wanna start a reissue label, I'll help, I'll give them.
Yeah, but Chad, you also put out the white stripes on a new HQR.
I'm trying,
you know,
man, I'm trying.
Exactly, you're trying, and the stuff is coming.
I've got some things around, and Atlantic was a time for me to do some newer things.
That's what I meant.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm trying, and some of the stuff I like isn't selling like it used to too. You know, to me, Buddy Holly and Elvis.
Beach Boys?
The Beach Boys. You know, it's moving on, and it is like like the 50s, the classic 50s stuff is selling less, and it's moving. And now the people that, when the Soundgarden or these type of bands, now those guys are doctors now, and they got the money, and that's what they want. Everybody wants what was playing in high school, the sentimental.
That's the point, exactly.
I'm moving, I'm slow, I'm old, I'm 63, I'm old, I'm moving slow. I'm like Grandpa Joe, I'm moving kind of slow.
Yeah, but Chad, also that timeline is shifting slow. It's not that it's...
Right, it's shifting. Yeah, it's going like this, and I can see it. And I'm moving.
I think Genesis is a very good example. I think when you would have done reissues of Genesis in, let's say, late 80s, it would not have been as successful as it is nowadays.
Music changes, the taste of people and what people collect is changing. Now, Genesis was a band that I could have liked, and it was in my time frame, but it's just a band that I knew about. Yes, I knew about Jethro Tull, I knew about Wishbone Ash, I knew about all the, I just really considered, I didn't consider it as progressive, I just considered it as classic rock, classic pop. Now I can see, you know, all of those guys had classical training and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and all that. But I didn't, back then the Moody Blues and Genesis were two bands that didn't, now of course the Moody Blues that was on the radio, Nights in White Satin.
And it was too close, in my opinion. If you would have put out Genesis in '82, it was too close.
Yeah.
They were still on the charts, I think.
I mean, you know, you got, with Genesis, you got the old and you got the
new. That's
and the new is just almost way too poppy, and the old is kind of way too...
Come on, it's great.
It's good, I'm starting to like it, I'm starting to get into it. And you know what, it doesn't really matter what, people are loving it. It's selling more than a lot of music that I would think. People love it more, but it's also the job that Bernie Grundman did.
Yeah, and they benefit extremely from the 45 RPM format compared to the originals. I think that they have that space now for those long records. They benefit extremely from that 45 RPM format.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say to close this up, it was exciting, it is exciting, and it will be exciting, right? And you will give us a lot of records.
Yeah, you know, like I said, it all started around '84. We got legitimized in '86. Everything was the next natural step, you know, whether it was recording or mastering or reissuing.
Pressing.
You know, and now we have like 10 companies within one. We have a pressing plant, Quality Record Press. We have a plating facility, which we plate records. We have a mastering facility, which we bought My Idol's mastering, the mastering lab, and we have Matt Luthen's mastering. We have a printing company. We have the Vinyl Vault that sells used and pre-owned stuff. Chad Stelly, we sell high-end audio and turntables and cartridges. So, you know, we have the Vinyl Vault, Acoustic Sounds Audio, the pressing plant, the print shop, Analogue Productions is a company on its own.
And everything is connected to
everything is connected.
That's
and
cool.
We do everything, you know, and one time we had the high-res download site.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we do a lot. We have like many businesses that are just unique businesses. Like I could just do analog productions. I could just do the vinyl vault. I could just do the pressing plant. I could just do the mastering. I could just do recordings. That's the other thing, and we're releasing a new record. We have our new recording label too, which is another company. So we have a lot, man, and I had a business guy come the other day, a good customer that buys every analog productions. He wants to be on the list for everything. So I showed him around, and he has a big company that does a lot of business, and he just said, Chad, he goes, I don't know how you do it. Like, you really need some help, and you are way too involved in every little thing. You got to step away from, and he's right. But I mean, it wasn't saying it to be funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and he's right. And I am kind of, but you know, we're talking about all the technology. I mean, if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't have met you.
Right.
We are expanding ourselves, and we're endearing ourselves to our customers because we get to communicate through YouTube. But it has been amazing. I feel like the luckiest man in the world, you know, and you should as well. As like this is our hobby, man.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
And we have our customers. Yeah. We have friends all over the world.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
all those connections, all those dots that can come to be, right? And meeting people, it's crazy.
Right. We meet in the silent ones.
Yeah.
You know, we're no matter what city, like you can go to any city, especially you, because you got such a big YouTube channel. People will recognize.
In the record store, it might happen.
Yeah. Actually, I was in New Orleans. If you go, well, New Orleans is a music city, but people were recognizing me, and it really is an acoustic. It is the YouTube.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. So we
keep rolling, huh?
Yeah, I mean, what's weird is when I go to the record labels to license something.
Yeah.
When I was first starting, I was 22, 23, and I would go in there and look up at the legend guy who was 63, and he's like, "Who are you, boy?" You know. And now I go in there, and the guy I'm dealing with is 23. And he doesn't even know who Genesis is, or
the natural circle of life, Chad.
Yeah, it's really something, man. We don't have a whole lot longer, or at least I don't think I do. But we're gonna do everything we can.
Exactly, that's the point. We do everything we can, and just keep on rolling. Chad, thank you so much for those amazing insights and sharing those. That was extremely interesting. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching us. Thank you, Chad.
All right, thank you.